If you do not see an actual save button on the page you are viewing, that probably means every change you make will automatically be updated now. All of the kiosk URLs have been updated and you now have your own specific URL for loading any of the kiosks. You have control over the specific key identifier and password and can be updated or changed at any time through your account settings. Never share or post the key password in a public manner. This is only to be used for your bookmarking of your kiosk stations to help quickly log you into your kiosk view. You are still able to have as many reasons as you wish, but you now have more control over what reasons belong to each specific component. Each component is now represented by its own tab. In the previous version, all teachers and staff added in your account belong to every component. You can now assign certain teachers and staff to belong to specific components. You have the option to change how the teachers' names will render in the drop-down menus. You can copy one component's teachers to another. You can import teachers from a CSV file and determine which component you want that list to be imported to. There are also new directions for how the CSV is to be formatted. Please pay attention to the directions provided. There is a sample CSV file available for download. There is also a new Staff Access tab, which will be covered in the Staff Access section. The student import has a new format. Please follow the directions for how the CSV file is to be formatted and read the directions carefully. There is a sample CSV file available for download. If you subscribe to the student log and outlog, there is a new feature that can be used so that students don't have to toggle between views if they are running to the restroom or any other reason for briefly leaving the library. Students can click on the "I'll be right back" button, select a reason, submit. When they return, they will click on the "I'm back" button. These instances are saved directly to the outlog itself. In order to have this feature turned on, you must make sure your outlog settings are updated and include the reasons field being enabled. You'll also have to turn the "Be Right Back" button on through your student log configuration settings. A new addition to the Pass component is the ability to have multiple locations for students to sign up for. You can have just one location in your library, but for example, if you would like to split off your makerspace or breakerspace into its own location, you can do so where the students signing up for those locations are independent of your library location. Another upgrade is the ability to restrict how many times students can sign up for a pass within a day or week. Calendar locations can now be grouped together for better organization. For example, if you are in charge of the computer and iPad carts, you can group them together and color code them. Because you now grouped your locations, they will show grouped on the calendars themselves. You now have the ability to click on the group itself for toggling, or just an individual as well. Event creation still works similar to how it did in the previous version. However, the big update based on user feedback was the ability to add multiple locations and times within one event. You now have the ability to create multiple instances of an event regardless of location, date, or period if you would like to keep the main details such as the title, reason, teacher, and description the same throughout. There is also a quick copy button as well, which will copy the location and the date so that you can quickly change the period. You have the ability to create as many schedules as you need, especially if you would like to create custom schedules for some of the other components. For example, if you have your main daily schedule, but you wish the past component to have a completely different sign-up schedule, you can do so by creating its own schedule version. Just make sure you label it accordingly. You will be able to assign that custom past component schedule in the schedule mapping, which will be talked about next. If you have versions which you would like to retain and not outright delete, you can do so by archiving that version. Schedule mapping is now more robust and flexible. It is split up into 3 sections: the student log, calendar, and pass. With the student log mapping, you can assign a specific schedule to each day. With the calendar mapping, you can assign a specific schedule, and in some cases multiple schedules, label and color code the days, and more flexibility on closing the day or specific periods of time. With the pass mapping, you can assign a specific schedule, have more flexibility with when passes can start and end, and you can assign pass slots to any of your pass locations you've created. A more in-depth overview can be seen in the Global Settings video. The Staff Access portal has been rebuilt. Teachers and staff must be listed inside of the Teachers Staff Access tab in order to have any access to the portal. You can either import all of your teachers and staff and allow or disallow access to certain people, or you can add the ones you ultimately want to have access. The login will use the generic password you create and will check the email address the staff member enters to see if they are allowed in or not. This will allow for more security when staff leave and will not be returning to your school. There is also an access log that will show who has accessed the portal over the last month. You now have the ability to create multiple user accounts to gain access to your administrative console. The main user is the super user who has ultimate control over everything. You can add other admin users, such as a co-librarian or assistant, who may need access to everything inside of the account as well. There is also a substitute permission, which can allow a substitute person to gain access but only have the access to kiosks for certain components. Usernames must be unique across the LibraryTrac platform.